What's up, metalheads? Welcome to the Scrap Metal Podcast, the show for the misfits who've been listening to the same music since high school. I'm your host, John Von Frankenstein, and joining me today is my metal thrashing mad co-host, Chris. Chris, I gotta ask you, man, how you feeling?
I gotta say, I'm feeling cyber
crime, cyber sex. Oh man, I am something to do with being an android now. AI's taking over. Chris, does this cyber feeling have anything to do with how you're keeping your heavy metal street cred?
I'm not sure how much it has to do with my heavy metal street cred.
Okay.
Kind of has something to do with someone's heavy metal street cred, probably.
Oh boy. We've got to guess this. No.
But recently I finally decided to start playing the video game Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
And, you know, I think I've talked about it before on this podcast, how, like, I'm not the biggest fan of medieval fantasy, but all the best RPGs are set in a medieval fantasy. So the fact that there was this video game set in a cyberpunk city, a sci-fi universe based on a tabletop RPG called Cyberpunk, I've been loving this game. But it's funny is the game in some ways is similar to Chinese democracy in that it was announced way too early, took forever to come out.
Okay.
And when it finally did release, it was a fucking disaster. Like, it was delisted from online stores and everything. I think the biggest difference is that Buckethead didn't demand a chicken coop be installed in the studio while the devs were working on it. But other than that, basically the same as Chinese democracy. Like I said, this was announced like 2012 or 2013, came out in 2020. Absolute disaster.
Oh, damn. Okay.
In the 5 years since then, they've released a bunch of patches and a DLC. It's now like version 2.0 or something. And the game is like unrecognizable compared to what it once was. So it's so, you know.
Is that the one with Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
Okay.
So, like I said, I've been playing the game, and one thing that I saw a lot of people talk about that I thought was really cool is that, like so many open world games, there's an in-game radio. And one of the radio stations is called Ritual FM, and it plays all death metal and black metal songs, which, like, you don't get that kind of music in mainstream, you know, media and entertainment. And I think we had talked about it. It came up in our heavy metal Rorschach episode. The band Tomb Mold is in the game. One of their songs, like I think it was specifically for the Cyberpunk soundtrack. And so it's really cool that, you know, you have these extreme styles of music being featured in the game. And even more music related is that the mission names are named after songs. So early in the game, the missions have like generic names like the rescue or the heist or the pickup or something like that. But then at some point you meet Keanu Reeves' character, Johnny Silverhand, who is a rock star and terrorist. And at that point, my favorite
type of rock star.
Yeah, totally. He plays a rock show and then sets off a nuke. It's great. So all the missions are named after songs like he would be a fan of. So it's all these like rock songs. So you've got side missions called Killing in the Name, like the Rage Against the Machine. You've got Forward to Death, which is Dead Kennedys, Belly of the Beast by Anthrax, Changes by Black Sabbath and Ozzy, Don't Fear the Reaper. And then there's also a chain that starts with Last Caress, like the Misfits song, which leads into the AFI song Total Immortal. So like it's really cool to see all these songs. Unfortunately, none of those songs are in the game, but it's still cool that every single mission is named after a song and they're like rock songs. And when you look up the missions, it's like, this is some like band, like these are songs that like fans of the band need to know. Like this isn't like a band's most well-known song. Some of these songs, these are, you know, songs that fans would know. So while it's not necessarily my heavy metal street cred, clearly the people that made this game have a lot of heavy metal street cred, including this death metal and black metal in the game, naming all these missions after rock songs. So that's I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 and I'm loving it for all of those reasons.
That is awesome. I didn't realize that it was a tabletop game, so they just wanted it to cross over into that other realm.
Yeah, it's funny. I start playing the game and it's showing you how to level up your character. And I'm like, this looks like a tabletop RPG. So I keep playing, I'm leveling up, then I start reading about the game, and I'm like, oh yeah, this was a tabletop game invented in the 80s. And the same guy has been writing new versions. So there was Cyberpunk. I want to say the first one was just called Cyberpunk or Cyberpunk 2013 or something. There's been a few different ones that are always set in the future, and that future is now the past. So it's you're playing a tabletop game set in 2013, and it's an alternate 2013, even though we're, 12 years or something since then. But yeah, it's I was surprised to find that it was based on a tabletop game, and there's so much lore from the tabletop game about Keanu Reeves' character, Johnny Silverhand. Cool. There's, the villain you fight eventually. I haven't gotten there yet, but I know it's coming. The character Adam Smasher, who there's some crazy lore about Adam Smasher. So he's basically just a brain and a spinal cord. And has different bodies that he changes into. And apparently one of the bodies he changes into is a blonde Elvis that he uses to seduce women. And I'm like, this is the most
makes sense.
Batshit fucking
it's just
lore.
Austin Butler.
I fucking love it.
I also love that they were like, post-apocalyptic world, there's not going to be any, we're not going to have Blink-182. It's going to be all death metal. Everyone's having a real bad time.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be all this really extreme music. I love that we've already started this episode out with so many classic songs being mentioned because, as you may know, as part of the listening experience, we actually put together companion playlists that go along with every episode. Yep. So the heavy metal intern, Russell, listens to every episode diligently and compiles a list of all the songs that we mentioned throughout the entirety of the episode, as wacky and as different from being on brand for the show as it may be. We've had Britney Spears on there. We've had the Pledge of Allegiance. You know what I mean? I think last episode we had 9 to 5. So by Dolly Parton. So yeah, these things get pretty wacky, but from time to time, especially if I'm going on a longer drive, like when I drove down to Florida to visit some family, I put on some of our companion playlists, and it's kind of just like, all right, let's see what comes on. Yeah. And it ties into this week's episode in that we are talking about a heavy metal road trip. Songs that you'd be able to put on in the car, something that'll keep you awake, something that'll make you feel like driving, or something that just gives you the feeling of being on the road. Chris, you brought this idea to the table. I'm excited to get into heavy metal road trips. Are you excited to discuss your playlist for heavy metal road trip?
I am so excited to talk about a heavy metal road trip playlist. Like you said, the music that you listen to on a long drive is just as important as the pre-drive snack stop at 7-Eleven where you grab one of everything and throw it in the back of the car, and it's someone else's responsibility to distribute the snacks as you're driving. And it's the playlist is so important. There's been times where I've agonized over what songs I'm going to listen to on a long drive. So I'm very excited. Like you said, there's songs that are just like, it gives you the feeling of like, I want to speed down the highway while listening to this song. And so I'm so excited to discuss these songs.
Yeah, it's usually Pink Pony Club or like Man Child by Sabrina Carpenter. There you go, Russell. 2 more. Yeah, I was pumped for this. I really like this idea. I love a road trip. I love driving. And this is coming from a city kid. I grew up in Queens where you didn't have to drive anywhere. You could take the bus or the train or walk everywhere you had to go. So just the feeling of being on the road and the feeling of being like, hey, I've always wanted to show you this album. Can we throw this on? Yeah. And you can kind of go back and forth with whoever your road trip buddy is, be it your partner or whatever, your spouse, your friends, your siblings. And just the road trip and the road trip playlist, I feel like is such a common experience. Yeah. Right? I've been hearing a lot lately that there's no original experiences, but this is one of those that I'm glad that we've all been able to share in. Yeah. Because we all understand the excitement of being like, oh my God, it's 3 a.m., but my favorite song just came on.
Yeah.
Now I can stay awake. I've just been given a new lease on life.
Yeah.
I'm no longer falling asleep at the wheel. Chris, why don't you get us started? The tank is full. Where we're going, we don't need roads. But it's still called a road trip. So what's the first song you want to bring up?
So one of the first songs that came to mind was the Metallica song Motorbreath.
Okay.
This has always been one of my favorite songs from Metallica, and I feel like it's an underrated song off of an underrated album, that being Kill 'Em All. And I feel like right in the title, Motorbreath, it tells you know, what the song is about. And I just felt like this was a good place to start because it felt very obvious. And like I said, this is one of my favorite Metallica songs. Until recently, it was their shortest song. I think it's less than 3.5 minutes long. And it's got that, you know, it starts with the drums that like sounds like a motorcycle engine revving up or something.
Yeah.
And then the feeling behind the song, it just has this very like, yeah, let's get going type of feel to it. You know, it's got this like galloping pace to it. And it's just a song that immediately came to mind. And it's a song that I've put on because I still have a CD player in my car that I'll put on a mix CD that I make. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'll be honest, it was between this and Whiplash because I also love yelling Whiplash in the middle of the guitar solo. But I was like, you know what? Motorbreath is a song that I feel like is not represented enough when people talk about Metallica songs. So I wanted to make sure I brought it up. I want to say they performed it one of the like 2 times I saw them live, which surprised the hell out of me. But yeah, I just felt like this was a relatively obvious place to start with Metallica's Motorbreath, just based on the fucking title and the way the song makes me feel when I'm driving and I hear this song. I felt like Metallica's Motorbreath was a good place to start.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I feel like a lot of the songs on Kill 'Em All, as much as it's regarded as like, as much as it's highly regarded as far as debut albums go, I feel like a lot of people skip over it and just go straight to Ride the Lightning, myself included, for years. You know what I mean? But there's so many. I guess it's just interesting to hear them at the very beginning of their career.
Yeah,
and you know, for what it's worth, hearing so many songs that Dave Mustaine had a part of. So it's a very different feel, although Dave was still involved in Ride the Lightning. I think it was just the bigger scope of that album makes that feel more like what you would think of as Metallica's very first album. You know what I mean? Where it's like, that's when they really came into their own. But yeah, that's Motorbreath is a fantastic choice to start off with. I love that. You actually brought up something really funny that I've been seeing a lot of people talking about lately, and that's like cars no longer having CD players. I get it all the time. You know what I mean? Like I work in the auto industry, so you're constantly hearing people be like, wait a minute, this doesn't have a CD player anymore. The car that I'm trading in has a CD player, and what am I supposed to do with all of these CDs? It happens more often than you'd think. And nowadays, what I've been getting a lot of is a lot of younger customers are coming in and they're like, oh yeah, I actually have like, you know, the car still has an aux input. So I bought a Walkman so I can plug the Walkman into the aux input. And I'm like, dude, this is the old tape cassette adapter thing so that I can plug my iPod into the stereo. You know what I mean? It's like, we're always looking for a way to have more control over our music.
Yeah.
And I think we're just seeing like a big resurgence in people wanting to feel like they own the music that they're listening to. Especially because like when you're on a road trip, I've had it happen where I'm like, I don't feel like listening to this song. I skip it. And I don't realize that I'm in a place with really low signal. Yeah. And then I've got to wait. I've got to drive for 15 or 20 minutes without any music because I got to wait for my phone to be able to ping off of another cell tower. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I could download the album onto my phone, but then I never have confidence in that because we're always changing phones. And I have had a moment where I'm like, yeah, I think I may get a Walkman again. I was recently looking through boxes at my mother's house being like, I need to find this one specific CD. I know it exists. I know it's somewhere in here. And that feeling of like, this is something that I own and no one else, unless I can play this song for someone, everyone will always think I made it up. But I love that feeling of like, I'm glad that you are still able to partake in the feeling of like, this is something that I put on with intention.
Yeah.
It wasn't a playlist that I'm listening to, someone else curating it for me. That's always good for discovering new music. But when you're on a road trip, especially, I feel like it means so much more to have control over all of the tunes that you're putting on, because there's way more intention to it. And I don't know that I would be playing Limp Bizkit in the car with my wife. I try not to subject her to that, too much, although I love them so much. But the first song that I wanted to bring up was Show Me What You Got. And as Jen the Ben so eloquently put it on their WordPress website, to say Limp Bizkit's Show Me What You Got has the most horrifying lyrics of any song in the history of recorded music is pretty bold. They then go on to say, I mean, it may not even be the worst collection of words to music done by that particular band. And it is pretty bad. But the reason I wanted to have it on my list is because they just name a bunch of cities. The verses are just Fred Durst naming a bunch of different cities and being like, all right, we're here in Milwaukee and we're in Maine. And what's everybody doing? And then he makes a bunch of stupid rhymes. And then the chorus hits. And it's like, show me what you got. And it's like, okay, now we're in your city. Now show me what you got, because we're on tour. Unfortunately, they're not hitting any of the big cities. This is when they were first starting out. So it cracked me up because it's the first song that I thought of. I was like, oh yeah, that's the perfect road trip song. They're just naming a bunch of different cities. Like, I now want to plan a road trip to visit every city that they mention in their song. I just feel like it would be a fun thing, and that's the only song I'm going to play. So I might be getting divorced soon. I find myself, since I was 12 years old, defending Limp Bizkit because I feel like much like a juggalo is going to defend ICP, where it's like, you just don't get it, and that's fine. It's fine if you don't get the Limp, Bizkit. You know what I mean? It's not for everyone, but I'm glad that I still get to hold on to this really stupid, ridiculous band. I love them so much. I was speaking with someone recently where they were like, oh yeah, I really love Limp Bizkit. And I'm like, they were not someone that I would expect. This nearly 60-year-old man being like, yeah. During COVID, I was working from home and I would throw on Spotify and I had some other band on and they came on and the song Nookie just hooked me. I listen to it every day when I take a shower. And their wife was like, yeah, every fucking day.
Was this?
And that's the effect that only Limp Bizkit can have on someone.
Was this Stephen King? Because I feel like I read recently that he almost got divorced because of his obsession with Mambo No. 5.
Oh my God. That's phenomenal. That tracks. I get that. I wanna hear a retelling of Mambo No. 5 as a short story, like a scary story. read by Stephen King. Chris, what's the next song on your road trip playlist?
So the next song I want to talk about is Cowboy Song by Thin Lizzy.
Okay.
I feel like this song has it has this feeling of like driving you forward just because of the tempo and the chord progression and everything. And it has this feeling of like, yeah, man, let's just go for a ride. And obviously also the lyrics are about, he talks about traveling to Mexico and then, being in like the Southwest and like being a cowboy, even though he's Irish. But I love this song and I love the feeling that the song gives me, similar to Motorbreath. When I'm driving and this song comes on, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I love it. And when it goes into the guitar solo, it's so good. And then it slows down and he's like, roll me over, turn me around, you know, and I just, I fucking love it, man. This song is so fucking good. And it's, like I said, I think for me, a lot of the different songs that I chose, it was, how do I feel when I'm driving and hearing this song? And when I listen to this song while I'm not driving, does it make me want to get in the car and go on a fucking road trip? And and that's kind of the way I looked at this, was like, you know, you mentioned it where, you know, you want songs that will keep you awake. I had to do that when I was in college. I was at school. We were shooting something until 3 or 4 a.m., and I needed to drive home so that I could get a little bit of sleep before returning for like an 8 or 9 a.m. class the next day. And I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted. And I threw on Tempo of the Damned and rolled my windows down. And I was like, it's only a 20-minute drive home, but I am not taking any chances. And I'm blasting fucking Exodus while I've got the wind blowing in my face, keeping me awake. And like, that's the feeling that I want with this road trip playlist. And yes, Thin Lizzy is not nearly as heavy or extreme as a band like Exodus, but I feel like the album as a whole, but especially Cowboy Song, it has this feeling of just like, it makes you want to keep moving forward, and it makes you want to just keep driving. And that's why I definitely wanted to include Cowboy Song, because I just felt like it perfectly captures the feeling that I want to feel while listening to a road trip playlist.
You're absolutely right. And it's all in the writing and arrangement of that riff. By doing that, by having that note that they always return to, and then descending in the little stabs that they do. That's what gives you that feeling of forward motion. And like, that's something that is so, again, it's the intention behind it. They are writing a song that gives you that feeling of propulsion, of moving forward. And it's in something as so simple as descending notes. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't think that, I don't know, there's other songs that do that too. What is it called? Like 6 of One, Half Dozen the Other by Chicago.
20. It's 25 or 624.
There you go.
That's a fucking classic. Why didn't I think of that? Because that's
it does the same
man.
thing.
It
does the same thing. But it's where in that song it's the da na 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 da na 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 da. In Cowboy Song, it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's the little, you do that like Night at the Roxbury or something. But that's what gives you that feeling of moving forward. That's what makes you feel like, oh, I've got to drive while I'm listening to this. The next song that I want to mention is Territorial Pissings by Nirvana. And it's not so much that the song makes me feel like driving, but if I'm in the car and this song happens to come on, I'm going to roll the windows down. This song also connects to a very specific memory for me of visiting family in Vancouver. Now, we had flown into Seattle, and my cousins had taken me to a record store there. And now this is like 11-year-old John being like, oh, okay, cool. What am I going to buy? In here, they have no Slipknot, they have no Mudvayne. I am disappointed. But I saw Nirvana's Nevermind, and I was like, oh, I know this is a classic album. I know Smells Like Teen Spirit. I know Come As You Are. Let me buy it. Dude, God bless my cousins. Like, everyone up there, bless my cousins for listening to this album with me on loop the whole entire trip. Anytime I was in my cousin's car, I was just like, yeah, do you mind if we play this again? He's just like, just leave it in the stereo. When you guys leave, just remember to take it with you. And so every trip, anytime this song came on, it's the riff. And just, it has such an energetic feel. I absolutely love it. There is there's the break before the lyric, just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not after you. But it's coming out of the first chorus. Like everything kind of drops down a little bit in dynamics, and Dave Grohl on the drums kind of like, and Kurt is playing the riff, but it's kind of like palm muted, And before he goes back into that line, just because you're paranoid line, he does this weird like harmonic thing. Dude, I was obsessed with figuring out how to do that. It was right around the time that I got my first electric guitar. So I'm like, how is he getting this tone? It was like a really fuzzed out guitar tone with some chorus thrown over it. And that was like, that's the secret sauce. That's the sound that I wasn't getting out of my guitar. And I was like, why can't I make it sound like this? And so now anytime I happen to hear it, like if I'm at work or something and I happen to have like a grunge playlist on or whatever else, I just, my brain goes back to that moment in time, driving around, listening to this album over and over and over and over again. And my poor cousins being like, it's Come As You Are again. There we go. It's, it's Polly, a real great depressing song that we're listening to again. Something in the Way. I love that we're listening to this while we're driving. But yeah, that's why my next choice was Territorial Pissings by Nirvana. Have you had a similar feeling like that? Do you have any of your songs on your playlist that are kind of like, oh, I remember listening to this nonstop?
It's not necessarily listening to it nonstop, but I do have a song tied to a specific memory. So when I was younger, we multiple times made the drive down to Williamsburg, Virginia.
Okay.
And one time we're making the drive, and what we would do is we would have the radio, you could hit a button where it would scan for radio stations. So
right, sure.
As you're getting out of range of one station, as we were getting out of range of one station, we would hit scan until we found the next classic rock or hard rock radio station. Because that's what we all want to listen to. The scanning brought us to a radio station that was playing Jessica by the Allman Brothers.
Oh, okay.
And so the song is playing and we're like, and we're all just cruising along and jamming along. But the memory I have is my mom being like, how long is this fucking song? Because it felt like the song lasted for like 40 minutes. I looked it up. It's only 7 minutes long. I listen to songs way longer than that. But at the time, we might have also just heard Ramblin' Man right before it on like a different station. So it felt like the Allman Brothers were holding us hostage. But I will never forget that memory of my mom.
Keep driving to Mexico. Don't stop.
Just my mom being like, how long is this fucking song? Because it felt like it was taking forever for the song to end. But it's such a good song and it's such a cool song. It's, it's an instrumental that just sends you along, and it's that classic, Allman Brothers kind of Southern rock sound that just, it is a song you want to listen to while you're driving because it's a long song. It's a song that I used to have this problem before I moved where I lived 7 minutes away from my job. I couldn't even listen to the entirety of Metallica's Master of Puppets, the song, from my driveway to my job. That's how short my commute was. So when you're on a long road trip, you're like, shit, you got songs that are 7, 8, 9 minutes long. Put them on that playlist. We got 8 hours to fill. So, we're going to listen to the 12-minute version of I Would Do Anything for Love. You bet your ass we are. So, it's when you were talking about the memory of, listening to Nirvana nonstop on a road trip, it made me think of this memory I have of the song Jessica, where like all of us in the car were kind of like, all right, we get it. Let's move it along. Let's find something else. It would have been hilarious if the next song was Inagata Vida. I don't remember if it was or not, but that would have been fucking hilarious to then be subjected to, what's that, like 15 minutes or some shit like that?
You just get in there in the middle of the drum solo. It's like, what's going on? What is this? Oh my God. That's a great song too. The Allman Brothers have a little bit of heavy metal street cred. The Allman Brothers may have influenced Swedish death metal, melodic death metal in a way, in the way that you've got the harmonized guitars throughout the entirety of the song Jessica. I love that. I've always loved that. And like between Jessica, anything from Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
You know, you had like a bunch of early, not even metal examples of harmonized guitar. We've talked about Boston having harmonized guitar all over Boston 1 like countless times. And it's such an awesome sound.
Yeah.
It's a great melody. It's such a good hook, and the way that the song develops, like, they are one of the few jam bands that I am so disappointed that I never got an opportunity to see, because they are probably the only jam type band that I would want to see. Like, I don't want to go see Fish. I don't want to go see the Grateful Dead. Like, fuck that. Fucking Casey Jones driving that train high on cocaine. No, thank you. That would be my car ride hell, is having to listen to the Grateful Dead. That's just, it's not for me. It's not for me.
It's funny. I considered, like, that should be the joke, is songs that would make me drive as fast as possible. Like, if you turn on Taylor Swift, I am driving as fast as possible so I can turn it off.
Turn it off. Turn it off. Oh, boy. Wait until you see the t-shirt I have queued up for the next episode. And it's funny that you say that, because I guess the concept of, like, a song that you want to be over so bad you just start driving erratically, maybe even getting yourself into an accident, brings me to my next song, which is Shredded Humans by Cannibal Corpse. It's just an awesome song. And I feel like there's nothing worse than listening to a song about people getting mangled during a car accident than... you know, that makes you not want to be in the car. It's just like driving behind a logging truck. You don't want to do that. There are certain rules that have been established on the road.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This is such a good song, too. I don't think I had listened to it, really, until we had done our Barnes versus Corpse Grinder episode. And I was like, oh, this is a phenomenal song. It's like the thrashier Cannibal Corpse stuff is always so good. I know that's why you're such a big fan of the Barnes era.
Yeah.
But I felt like I couldn't have a playlist and leave Cannibal Corpse off of it. I was going through and I was thinking, I'm like, all right, what song do I want on there though? Because I don't know that it necessarily gives me the feeling of wanting to drive. It's more like, oh, I want to put on my seatbelt. But I just faster music like that. Lots of double bass. Lots of just like 16th notes on the guitar and stuff, and tremolo picking like that is going to give you that type of energy, similar to what we were talking about with Thin Lizzy, giving you that feeling of proportion and constant motion. That's kind of what Cannibal Corpse and like a lot of death metal just does for me. Yeah,
definitely. It's funny. You talking about Cannibal Corpse and listening to death metal, it brought back a specific memory of getting up, going to work, and listening to Mortician on the way to work. And I think this was while me and my brother were working at Adventureland. So I'm driving the two of us there. We pull into the parking lot and we're like, Mortician might have been a mistake this early in the morning, but whatever. It is what it is. But moving right along, the next song that I want to talk about is a song that, again, it has a bit more of a faster pace that keeps you moving. That's the song Heavy Metal Breakdown by the band Bitch. This song almost has like a punk rock 4-chord progression and just like fast-paced drums. And you have Betsy Bitch just kind of screaming her head off a little bit in this song. And it's a high energy song, and the riff and the tempo is just something that, you know, when I listen to this album and I get to this song, I'm like, yeah, this wants me driving on the expressway, avoiding the potholes that destroy my suspension. But this is a song that I love. You know, I've talked about Bitch before on this podcast. I love them. They're such a fun band, and it's
Tipper Gore's favorite band.
Oh yeah, totally. and it's like I said, this particular song is just it feels different from some of the other music on this album, which is like just your classic heavy metal riffs. Whereas this feels a little bit more upbeat and faster pace. And I think the title is kind of reflects that heavy metal breakdown. You know, in the song she says, I'm heading for a breakdown. And it's kind of this like frantic idea of like, yeah, just like I have to keep moving. I want to keep moving. And I think it's that energy that makes you want to keep driving forward. And like, you know, I mentioned, like you mentioned a couple times, you know, it's, you kind of want that energy. Sometimes you need that energy. There was these streamers I watch, Secret Sleepover Society. It's a husband and wife that play video games, Jacob and Julia. Okay. Jacob was telling a story one time that he went to a concert and then was driving home. And on the drive home, the three friends in the car with him, they put on this band, Explosions in the Sky, who is an instrumental band. And they do like, it's like this like atmospheric guitar instrumentals. The other three people fell asleep and it started gently raining. And Jacob was like, I was terrified that I was going to fall asleep and crash the car because we put on this music, everyone falls asleep, it's raining, and he's terrified of like crashing the car because he's about to fall asleep. And I'm like,
that's a fucking recipe for destruction.
It's, if you're riding shotgun, it is your responsibility to not fall asleep. Like that is rule number one of riding shotgun on a road trip. The second rule is playing DJ and making sure the music is good and occasionally taking requests. And it's the people in the back seat when they're not sleeping, it's their job to distribute the snacks.
Yes.
But yeah, it was funny hearing that story and being like, yeah, I've purposely picked music and had the windows open to make sure that doesn't happen to me, where I'm not like, hey, I'm about to fall asleep. But I did take his advice and listen to that Explosions in the Sky album while I was trying to sleep on a flight to Colorado. So I was glad to get the recommendation of some, you know, kind of chill music to listen to. But yeah, that is not ever going to make a road trip playlist. Unlike Bitch, Heavy Metal Breakdown. The car won't break down, but you might get a little crazy driving for 12 hours listening to this song.
I love that you talk about the frantic energy of that song, because from time to time you want something that's going to make you feel as though your lifestyle determines your death style. And nothing better than a song like that. I have to check out Explosions in the Sky, especially if it's something that like I can put on to fall asleep. I would also be terrified of falling asleep in the car. Yeah. And I'm glad that you were able to use it for your flight to Colorado, but I'm sure you would have been terrified if while boarding, the pilot was like, hey, have you guys checked out this band, Explosions in the Sky? It's like, no, don't put it on. Don't put it on during the flight, please.
It's all autopilot. The computer does all the work anyway.
Great. AI flying our planes too. What's next? Wi-Fi? So the next song I want to mention is a song that would absolutely wake me up in one of those situations where everyone else in the car has fallen asleep. My co-pilot, you know, riding shotgun, has broken the cardinal rule, which actually you should come up with like a pamphlet that we can mail out to our listeners. You know, if you guys are interested in Chris's handbooks and rules for the road trip, he will gladly print them up and snail mail them to you. But the song that I feel like would keep me up in that situation where it's like, shit, everyone's fallen asleep, how am I going to keep myself up? I would throw on Static X's Machine album so that I get the intro, which is called Bienvenidos, into the song that I'm actually putting on the playlist, Get to the Gone. This is one of those songs where I used to play this for my cousins and not tell them what was going to happen. I'm like, oh, listen to this heavy metal band. They're a mariachi band. Let me turn this up for you. I'm going to put the volume up real loud because it's really funny. Boy. Wait until you hear what the singer says in the background. And then Get to the Gone starts and it's just, go! I was a little shit. I was and am a little shit, and I do everything for the bit. Get to the Gone is just an awesome song. I love listening to Static X when I'm in the car because I'm just like moving and grooving. It's evil disco. I love it. And it's absolutely going to be something that's going to keep me awake. I'm glad that the songs that we got on that album were a little bit more of the... You still get the dance elements, but they are written a little bit more traditionally than what we get on Wisconsin Death Trip on their first album, which was definitely way more dance inspired, or not necessarily oriented, but just dance inspired. And Get to the Gone is just something that starts things off with a bang. That scream that you get from Wayne Static as you're going from the intro into this song is just phenomenal. And then again, it's the drums. It's the drums that give you that forward motion, that feeling of forward motion again, where it's just, you've got like a drum sample going on in the background, but the main drums themselves is like, that's gonna make you feel like you want to be like, actually, you know what? Wake up. You get in the driver's seat. I'm going to run next to you guys while we're driving down the road. It just gives you that much energy. I love this song. And I love that as like a go-to of like, okay, it's 4 a.m. We're on a dark road. We're the only ones on here. Maybe it is raining, you know, and rolling my window down and sticking my arm out and letting the rain hit my arm is actually not working. That's actually putting me to sleep. The ice cubes down the shirt are not working. There was one time where my wife and I drove down to Disney, and my parents had gotten us these chocolate covered espresso beans. Dude, I was popping these one after another. And I was like, this has to keep me up. The coffee's no longer working. The espresso beans hopefully will work. We had gotten at some rest stop just a cup full of ice, and I was just taking the ice and like just shoving it down the back of my shirt. I was trying everything we possibly could, but I did make the cardinal mistake of forgetting that I had the chocolate covered espresso beans in the car when we finally got where we were going. So they melted in there, and the car just smelled like chocolate espresso beans for the remainder of the trip. Which could be good, could be bad. Depends on your opinion on chocolate-covered espresso beans. Chris, what's the next song you want to throw on your road trip playlist?
So the next song is from someone that I felt like I had to include, and that's Tom Petty. And I was undecided because I felt like Running Down a Dream is appropriate. Yeah, it totally works, but I feel like that felt a little too cliche for me, and I instead went with American Girl, which is still an extremely popular and well-known song by Tom Petty, but this has been one of my favorite Tom Petty songs for as long as I can remember. You know, when I think I've talked about it before, when I was a kid, my parents would play all sorts of classic rock. I was 3 years old. My favorite song was Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf, you know, and I think one of my other favorite songs was American Girl by Tom Petty. You know, I think the intro is so cool and it's got such a cool feeling, and it doesn't quite have the keep you moving forward feeling that Running Down a Dream does, but American Girl, I feel like still has the feeling that will kind of keep you moving forward, especially when you get to that ending. That ending is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
With, you know, you've got the guitar playing that kind of lead line, and there's like some like backing vocals going on, and it's just got this feeling of like, it's a good song. It's a rockin' song that's gonna keep you moving, gonna keep you awake. You know, like I said, as a kid, I would dance to this song in the living room. And so I think as an adult putting together a road trip playlist, this is definitely a song I would want to include because I love this song. And I felt like, you know, thinking about certain artists, Tom Petty was one of the artists that I was like, I think I need to include Tom Petty. Like, it feels like a rule that I have to include Tom Petty on a road trip playlist. And like I said, I decided American Girl was the perfect song to, you know, just keep us moving because there's so many different things about the song that I love. It's a song that is going to keep me awake because it's one of my favorites and a song I'm going to want to listen to while I'm driving.
Yeah. How many road trips have you been on where like the whole entire car gets into singing along with the song? I love those moments.
Yeah.
Where it's like a throwback song will come on, like a 90s song or something like that, something super ridiculous that has like a really hooky chorus, and then like everybody just gets into it. I feel like American Girl would be one of those songs. And you know what? I feel like it does have kind of that driving feel. But a lot of the songs that we've been talking about, that driving feel's coming from the drums. Yes. And I think that might be the key element. You've got to have a really strong drum beat and something that just gives it that sort of groove to make for a good road trip song. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because even this, it's like, sure, Running Down a Dream has the riff.
Yes.
But the drums are kind of just the simple like 4 on the floor. Where American Girl, it's like
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's fun. It feels fun. It makes you want to, like, you're driving, so you can't dance, but you want to get up and dance. You maybe want to get onto the hood of the car and let somebody else drive. Do I have like a fetish for having other people drive for me and me performing crazy stunts? Should I become a stunt person? What's going on?
I thought, who was it for White Snake that danced on the
Tawny
Corvette?
Katane.
Yeah, that's
Tawny
you.
Katane.
That's you.
It makes sense. She was all of our childhood crush if you watched VH1 Classic, right? That could be me. I've got long enough hair, you know. My girlish figure isn't what it used to be, but yeah, it could work. So yeah, do you think it has more to do with the drums of the song, or do you think that there's another element of these songs that has to be there for you to feel like, okay, this makes for a great road trip song?
I think the drums are very important because when I was talking about Bitch, like I said, I picked Heavy Metal Breakdown. I was thinking about the song Riding in Thunder, but the tempo is too slow. And I feel like there is definitely something, and with all of the songs I've picked, I think the tempo of the drums is what's really giving you that driving feeling. And I think that's more important than whatever it is the guitar is doing. Yeah. But the guitar also needs to match it. Like, it can't just be the drums. There needs to be cohesion in that feeling, but I think the drums are a little bit more important. And I think that's what really gives you that driving feeling, is the way the drums are being played. Because, like, even if you're playing the drums at the right pace, if it's not the right style, it's still not going to feel right. You know,
drums control a song.
Yeah.
Drums dictate the feel of a song. I've seen like so many challenges on like TikTok and Instagram where people are like, here's my riff. Drummers, you guys, you know, tap in and let me see what you got. Let me see what you come up with to this. And you've got so many different feels depending on who's behind the kit. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. There has to be some cohesion there so that everyone's sort of like on the same page. The next pick that I have exemplifies that really well, because the drums start out super intense. You start the song out with a drum roll into this crazy fast-paced guitar, and that is Towards Dead End by Children of Bodom. Also a funny pick because I was like, well, you don't want to be driving towards a dead end when you're on a road trip. But yeah, this song, the intro is just so energetic. The verse kind of pulls things back a little bit, but then you get back into it. And then you get like a bridge section that pulls things back a little bit. And then you propel yourself forward again, which reminds me of those little like wind-up cars that you pull back and let them go. But sometimes that's what you need. So again, you're getting that cohesion between the drums and the guitar. The melody line in that intro is so good too. It's like da 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 da. Again, so you're rising, and you're rising in that intensity by going up, by taking that same line and just moving it up in the scale. And then it just goes, it's like this whole sweeps part. It's so good. It's so much fun. It's like borderline an Yngwie type song. You know what I mean? Which, like, I was going to include him on here too, but I like Children of Bodom way more. But I like that this example, again, gives us the super driven drums, but it has the dynamics, not by way of volume, but by way of feel. Yeah. Where we're taking it back slightly. We're kind of reeling it back in a little bit. And then that's shooting us to the next part. And then we're going to reel it back in again. And then we're going to shoot into the next part. And it's creating that intensity by having those dynamics. There's also been like a huge discussion nowadays, like the loudness war that has come about because of loudness standards on YouTube, on Spotify. You know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to have the loudest mix. And I feel like a lot of people now are kind of like, just make my song sound good. I want there to be some dynamics, because dynamics, like we were saying, be it in the tempo or in the actual volume of a song, how loud or soft a part is, plays a huge part in how that song's going to feel, especially if you're behind the wheel. You know what I mean? When you can hear a song building up, when all the instruments are like building up behind this the drum part, that dun, 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 and it's just getting like slowly building up. What is it? Sister Christian? Motorin. I think of the scene from Boogie Nights. Listen to those drums. You know what I mean? It's true. You need to have that. You've got to have those dynamics. And when you're behind the wheel, it just gives you more of that, like, all right, cool, now we're cruising. Here's a fast part. Let me punch it. You know what I mean? Like, that's so much fun. I love that. Do you have any other choices for your playlist that kind of have a similar feel to that? Or do you have something else that's going to have like balls to the wall drum parts?
The next song I want to talk about, I feel like is more of just once the song starts, it just keeps going. But I do want to take a step back for a second, because something you were just talking about, I feel like is something we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and that is dynamics within a song. We talk about it all the time, the importance of acoustic guitar in thrash metal, because you don't get to feel how fast and intense a thrash metal song is unless you have a really awesome acoustic intro. Right. Obviously Iron Maiden has like made a career of playing the same thing over and over and over again on acoustic and clean and then distorted. And, you know, sometimes you get that in thrash as well. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about what makes a song feel more intense.
Right.
Is the moments where you get clean or acoustic guitar, because you want that contrast, because that's if it's balls to the walls for 40 minutes, you don't get a break. That was what happened listening to Mortician that one time. It was was horror movie clips and then constant double bass and unintelligible vocals, and you need something that will kind of bring it back a little bit. But like I said, this next song, once it starts going, it keeps going. And the first time I heard this song, I didn't believe that it was by this band. And that is the song Never Say Die by Black Sabbath. Okay. First time I heard this was in the ending credits of Brutal Legend, which is, you know, the heavy metal video game. You play as Jack Black and fight the forces of evil. And I heard this and I'm like, that is 100% Ozzy Osbourne singing. This does not sound like something Tony Iommi would have written. But sure enough, you know, it's 4 chords. It's not some fucking doom riff, which is what I'm usually looking for from Sabbath. Like I said, Tony Iommi hits that first chord, the drums come in, and the song doesn't slow down. It just keeps going. The chorus, the guitar slows down a little bit, but for the most part, it just keeps going. And listening to the song, especially having just played a video game where I'm riding a motorcycle through like the Valley of Hell or some shit, it very much gave me the feeling of like, yeah, this is a song that I'd want to be listening to while rocking out in the car. And so once, you know, we decided we were going to put together this road trip playlist, I was like, you know what? It's not the most popular Black Sabbath song. It's not even the most Black Sabbath song. But it's a song that is going to want to keep me moving and keep me driving and propel you forward. So yeah, I knew I had to make sure I included Never Say Die, because the feeling when I listen to it, even though it's not what I usually want to feel while listening to Black Sabbath, in this particular case, it fits perfectly for what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I love that. You're right. It was a song that when you hear that and then you listen to like Heaven and Hell, it's like, oh, okay. We were very clearly going into that different direction. You know what I mean? It's like you're right. It's very different for Iommi. And it's still a good pick.
Oh, it's still a good song, but
their hits are their hits for a reason, but some of those deeper cuts from Black Sabbath are just so good. Yeah. So good. And we did our episode on Ozzy versus Dio as well. Yeah. And yeah, there are, I mean, classic rock radio has played the shit out of everything by Sabbath. Yeah. But it's usually the same 5 or 6 hits.
It's Iron Man, it's War Pigs, it's Paranoid. You know,
like every now and then you might get Sweet Leaf, you know. Yeah. But even like Ozzy's Boneyard will be a lot of the hits. A lot of the hits are like a few of the same Symptom of the Universe or something like that. Like you get that a ton. But yeah, that's an awesome pick. I love that. And by having something that is not quite Sabbath, it gives you the opportunity to be like, hey, like again, I'm thinking on a road trip, being like, have you ever heard this song before?
Yeah.
That's a road trip's the perfect time to be like, have you ever checked out like some of their deeper cuts? Let's put that on. Let's put on everyone's least favorite album by this awesome band.
Yeah.
And let's listen to it. And then now you can sit there and you can pass the time having discussions about music. Like that's why I love a road trip. You can listen to the music, but after a certain point, like people will be waking up. Maybe you're the last one standing. It's 7 a.m. now. Everyone's waking up because their necks are all crinked to the side or whatever. Yeah. And now you get to have those discussions of like, oh, I've never heard this album before. Let's turn this up now.
Yeah.
Cool. Now you get to hear something different. I say it all the time. When my commute went from being like an hour-long commute down to 10 minutes, there was a severe drop in how much new music I was consuming. Yeah. Because you just don't have the time. Like you said, when it's a 7-10 minute drive to work, that was always my time. My drive to work or school was always my time to listen to a new album by a band and like start getting into it. Yep. That's why for the longest time, I felt like I was stuck in what I was listening to. You know what I mean? Speaking of college, one of the bands that I found around that time is the band Throwdown. And their song Holy Roller is my next pick for road trip song. This song has gotten so much criticism for being the Pantera ripoff song because it sounds, I think it's Regular People. Oh, what the hell is it called? I think it's Regular People, something like that, off of Cowboys from Hell. And it just sounds like it sounds a lot like Pantera. And I don't think that's a mistake. I think that Dave Peters is just a huge Pantera fan. Well, like when you listen to Throwdown's like fourth or fifth, I think it's called Deathless, the album, they went super like Southern metal inspired type of stuff, which like I dropped off for me. Thankfully, their following album was way stronger and kind of like back to the hardcore stuff. Yeah. But this riff always was the one that I would hear where people are like, oh yeah, Throwdown's just a Pantera ripoff, you know, used to be a hardcore band, now they're a metal band type of song. But the crazy double bass that you get is awesome. I love that. Again, we're getting that feeling of constant motion. You're getting the hype up by having that really fast riff. And so it's an exciting song to listen to. It was probably, I forget if it was this song or no, the first time I ever heard Throwdown was their cover of Baby Got Back. But the next time I heard Throwdown was probably either this song or Forever, which another great riff. But yeah, they get so much shit for this song. I just felt like I get it because it is. I don't know if I may be remembering this incorrectly, where like during an interview, Dave Peters was like, "No, I did not rip off Pantera in this song." And then maybe a couple of years after that, he was like, "Oh, I absolutely ripped off Pantera with that song." So where Pantera ripped off Ex-Hoarder, Throwdown ripped off Pantera, and the cycle continues because I'm sure I've written a few riffs that have ripped off Throwdown here and there. It's just the cycle of life. It's how things evolve and continue. Chris, the companion playlist for this road trip episode is going to be absolutely bonkers. I think now we just have to plan a road trip around this companion playlist. What do you say? Where are we going? Am I driving first? Are you driving first? What kind of snacks do you like? Are hot dogs like not allowed in the car, or are you cool with that? How do you feel about chocolate covered espresso beans? Chris, why don't you give us your suggestion for this episode so we get one more song from each of us for this road trip playlist?
So my suggestion for this road trip playlist is similar to Tom Petty. I felt obligated to include this artist on a road trip playlist, and that's Bob Seger.
Okay.
And at first I thought about the song Roll Me Away, because that song is about like riding his motorcycle across the country. But I felt like the energy wasn't there. So instead, I am suggesting everyone listen to Hollywood Nights by Bob Seger, because this is a song that I feel like does have the energy that keeps you driving forward. Like we were saying, part of it is in the drums. Some of it is in the guitar.
Big part of it is in the drums.
Yeah. But I love this song. I'm a big fan of Bob Seger. I love Bob Seger, like I've mentioned multiple times, and I did in this episode, as a kid, my dad would put on the Bob Seger greatest hits. And
where he's standing on the railroad tracks?
Yes, I fucking love that. That's all the Bob Seger I listen to. I've never listened to a Bob Seger album, but I have listened to that greatest hits so much. And Hollywood Nights is great. It's funny, Hollywood Nights is also featured in one of the versions of the mission in Grand Theft Auto 5 where you rob the Union Depository and you steal $200 million worth of gold bars. And when you make your escape, you've made your escape, you get in the car, the song that plays is Hollywood Nights. And I always thought that was a really cool feeling because I've always loved this song. And like I said, when we were putting together this road trip playlist, I was like, there is no way in hell a road trip playlist is complete without Bob Seger, which is why my suggestion this week is Hollywood Nights by Bob Seger.
I love that. I love Bob Seger, dude. Same here. My exposure to Bob Seger as a child was Q104, whatever they were playing. This was always
Turn the Page,
or like the live version of Turn the Page.
Yes, that's the only version.
The best. Either that or Night Moves or Old Time Rock and Roll. But anytime Hollywood Nights came on, it's such a good song. His voice is phenomenal on it.
Yeah.
The lyrics are great. The melody that he sings is when you're too far from home. It's so good. It's so good. I love Bob Seger so much. Oh my God. That's like, I would not have imagined that you gave us a lot of like, You gave us a lot of classic rock radio hits for your playlist, which just takes me back to all those car rides I had and all those road trips that I took with my parents. You know what I mean? Like, I was almost talking about it from the perspective of like stuff that I've listened to or I would listen to while I was driving. And I'm glad that you kind of touched on things that I remember from my childhood being one of the kids in the back seat. You know what I mean?
You know, like I mentioned when I talked about Allman Brothers and Jessica, I think that's a part of it is that the road trips that I mostly remember when I was a kid. So I was listening to the music with my parents. And it's funny, something that I was going to mention, I forget what we were talking about. We were talking about like a song where like everyone in the car kind of reacts to it. And it's not everyone reacting, but no matter where we are driving, if me and my mom hear Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio, we headbang like in Wayne's World. Like we do it every time. And just recently I visited my parents down in Florida and we made the drive up to St. Augustine. So so we were driving up from like Orlando to St. Augustine, even south of Orlando. Either way, it was like a 2-hour long trip. And it's me, my mom, and my aunt in the back seat. And Bohemian Rhapsody comes on and we're on Route 1 banging our heads while my aunt is sitting in the back like, you two are fucking nuts. And we're like, we fucking love it. We can't not hear that part and not headbang. It is required that you headbang to that part.
Oh yeah. Don't I know it well. We did that at my wedding. You were there for that.
Yes.
You got to see all my cousins and I, like our tradition, anytime we were all together, like, oh yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody has to come on. We all have to sing it. We all have to headbang. Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. So my pick for this week, a song that makes me want to go, makes me want to get up and go, makes me want to drive, makes me want to run, makes me want to do the Running Man, is Infestation by Harm's Way, simply because of the Running Man meme. It's so good. It is so good. James from Harm's Way is huge. He's enormous. He's the most muscular man I've ever seen. And watching him do the Running Man, there's a reason that it's put to every pop song. It's so funny. And I found out who Harm's Way was by way of the meme. So I was just, again, sometimes we just do things in service of a stupid joke on this show. And this is definitely one of those examples. I love this. This song is great. Harm's Way is awesome. The song is great. Just watching this, he's got to be like 300 pounds of just pure muscle, this guy. He does like jujitsu. You know what I mean? God. He's like definitely a weightlifter and stuff like that too. And like, I think he has a fitness page on Instagram as well. Like, you know, gives fitness, nutrition advice and stuff like that. It's cool to see because I also love sort of like the obsession with fitness in the metal and hardcore communities.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff. You know, we had the Songs to Live To episode.
Yeah.
But also part of that is the drive to the gym. So again, in some ways, I circle it back around to the theme. I make sure that it works. But if you've never heard the song before or seen the meme, check out the song Infestation by Harm's Way. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Scrap Metal Podcast. The time has come for us to pack up our gear, but we'll be back to rock out with you in the next episode.
Stay metal, everyone.
Good night.